This is Friedrich by Hans Peter Richter, Chapter 1, Setting the Scene, 1925. Someone had called him Polycarp, and he kept this name all the time he rolled over our front garden. He wore green trousers, a red waistcoat, and a blue peaked cap. His left hand stuck in his trousers pocket, his right held a long pipe. He stood in the middle of the lawn and surveyed the garden like someone enjoying the end of a hard day's work. Polycarp never moved from his spot. If the grass grew too high for him to see the dahlias by the fence, the landlord's wife would creep across the lawn on her knees and clip the blades to matchstick length with her garden shears. We saw Herr Johann Rush, our landlord, only rarely. He never came outside except on holidays, if the weather was fine. Then he'd slowly stride to the center of the garden, his wife following with a chair. Snorting, he'd sit down next to Polycarp, his garden dwarf. Herr Rush always stayed in his chair for exactly 1 hour, watching the passers-by in the street. Then he'd get up, circle around Polycarp, and puff his way back to the house. Until the next holiday, he would watch Polycarp, the front garden, and the street from his window. Herr Rush wasn't just the owner of a house. He had begun as a salesman of bathing suits, but over the years he'd managed to get promoted to district manager. Now he let other salesmen do his work while he conducted his business by telephone. At last, Herr Rush would rule, and he let everyone feel it. His house was his seat of government. Salesmen and tenants were his subordinates. We lived on the second floor. That is, my parents lived there. My father was out of work and was about to ask Herr Rush to exchange our apartment for a smaller one when I was born. By 1925, Germans had run through their savings trying to survive the devaluation of the mark. There was very little prospect of finding work. Hardship and unemployment were on the rise throughout Germany. So my parents were even more worried when I came into the world. I, too, wanted to eat and needed clothes, but I think they were pleased all the same. Friedrich Schneider was born exactly 1 week later. The Schneiders lived in the same house, right above us. Herr Schneider was an official with the post office. My parents scarcely knew him. He always said a friendly good morning on his way to work and an equally friendly good evening when he returned, but only rarely was there any real conversation. My parents knew Frau Schneider, a small woman with dark hair and even less well. She would do her shopping or clean the stairs and immediately get back into her apartment. She smiled at everyone she met, but unlike her neighbors, she never stopped to gossip. Our parents grew closer only after Friedrich and I were born.